people, more life, more blessings. You know the vibes. We are live. Episode 16, Do It For The Love. You know me, your host, Everybody Davis. And you know my co-host is in the building.
Spit fire.
And as usual, you know we are feeling good, feeling great, feeling good. And we hope you are too. You know, me and Self speak off camera about like not doing things repetitively and letting people know what we're doing, but I almost feel the need to. So for all of my first time listeners,
what they gotta do, man?
You know, when we start off, baby, we gotta check our temperature. You know, see how we feel and how this week has been. So my brother, what that temp feeling like?
Blessed. Super blessed. Thankful to be here as always. And I want to make sure when we check our temperature from now on, and we remind all our viewers to like, subscribe, and comment. We need that. We, you know what, I'm super hyped because we just reached 250 downloads.
Yes, I posted it earlier.
For people that's on the audio channel. So thank you to everybody that's been tuning in, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever it is. We appreciate you. And then we still getting a good following via YouTube and on our website. So we tell y'all and keep telling y'all, keep following. We appreciate it. How is your temperature, bro?
You know me, man, I'm feeling good, bro. Still the month of love, you know, still Black History Month. So I just been doing a lot of events at the job, doing a little small stuff, preparing for things that we got coming. You know, the big Celebrity Gun Violence Awareness event is coming, so I'm excited to be doing that teen summit with Gillian Wallow and Stuart Pittman and everyone. So, you know me, Marty Moore, love the kids. Buddy Bud, love the kids. So I'm excited about that and just telling them about, you know, my perspective of why they can make better decisions and, you know, go further in life. You can be anything you want to be.
Yep.
So I'm feeling good, man. I'm inspired. I'm ready to go. We got a special guest today. So yeah, I'm ready to get the ball rolling.
Feeling good too because we've been getting a lot of guests who've been traveling around, you know.
Thanks.
And we're blessed to have people who are busy to stop by, but it's also another point that we're growing, bro. We're starting to reach, you know, different heights and new networks. So it's exciting to see that our following is growing and our guests are growing too. Growth
is essential to the human mind, and I'm one of a kind, so let's get it rolling. So tonight, episode 16, Do It For The Love. This is a very, very important topic because we all need it at some point in time. Sometimes you don't notice when you need it, and sometimes when you do, you start to change other people's lives. Episode 16 is for the love of healing. As I like to do, I like to give you the book definitions of the word, and then we go into how we feel about it.
Sure.
So healing, the process of making or becoming sound or healthy again. Another take, tending to heal, therapeutic. So when I think healing, I think setbacks first. The first thing I think about is sports injuries. I was blessed to never break bones. I was blessed to never get hurt. But as I got older in age, thinking I was still young, I tore my Achilles. That was the biggest setback I've ever had in my adult life, I would say, because it took me to, I couldn't do anything that I normally did. Yeah. The regular day-to-day to me, I needed assistance with everything. If you know anything about Sagittarius, we don't really like asking for help, but we love helping others. So it put me in a space that I wasn't used to being in. That's my first thought. Then the second thought, I think, is the recovery stage. You got to relearn everything. At some point in time, you can't be down on yourself no longer. So you have to rehab, you got to get back at it. You got to start going to physical therapy. If it's a physical injury, if it's a mental thing, you got to go to therapy or find some type of outlet. I always say everyone doesn't need a therapist, but you need some type of outlet to get it out. You got to talk to somebody because, you know, just sitting with self all the time, at some point in time, you can give up. And if you don't have anybody in your corner, things can get scarce. And then my third point is that we all have demons and we all have different type of trauma. And when you are a young person coming up in a household that you might not can control, but you love who you love, those things can pour over into your decisions, how you treat other people, and your actions. So I always say that everybody has to give grace to each and every individual because the healing process takes time for everybody. I always say it's like the mourning process. Sometimes you can get over things quickly and people think, oh my God, he moved on, he's not hurting anymore. But that could be a form of therapy for him. And then at the same time, when people are like, oh my God, they're right back to work, it's like sitting around, all I have is the thoughts of why I'm in pain, of why I'm struggling. So those are my thoughts on therapy. So let's talk for the love of therapy. How you feel?
For the love of healing.
Love of healing, I'm sorry. I need therapy. People that's healing need therapy, so on and so forth.
But for the love of healing, when I think about it, I think about three parts to it, and a lot of those points are similar to what you said.
Okay.
That's healing mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like mentally, I'm healing every day from mental interactions with people or being overwhelmed with work. And I feel like if I don't take that time to myself, I'm not giving myself that mental healing that I need throughout the day. Spiritually, I'm still healing from, like you said, bad decisions in the past. It be times when I'm sitting with myself, I may be deep in thought, and I'm thinking about how blessed I am to get through some of those traumas and past things that I've done, but it's still spiritual healing for me. And then physically, it's funny because we feel like we may know what our body is going through, but if you're not going to get that daily checkup, then you could be wrong. You know, like you try to go through annually as a man, which we should all be doing, getting that checkup, and that's the only way that you can really know if you need to be healed. Because I mean, we're only getting older, so technically, are we healing as time go by?
Right.
It's like you just have to check your temperature and really see what's going on. So that's what I think about when I think about healing. Going through those different phases and actually giving yourself grace to heal through it, but you need help. You can't do it on your own.
Absolutely.
And that goes back to your point of therapy.
Absolutely. And I also have to point out one other word that I didn't mention. I think resilience. I have an uncle, Mark Johnson. My entire youth, he was a crackhead. Literally go to my grandmother's house to go to the school in the morning, take my breakfast sandwiches. When I tell you all types of stories, I can keep going on and on. This man, the family tried to get him in rehab, he would run out of it. His mother tried to help him, he would just steal and lie and cheat, and she would still bring him back in. He stopped running from the cops one day. That was 20 years ago. He owns a trucking business, handling his business, taking care of all of the things that he's supposed to take care of. Certain things, certain relationships never were healed from his decisions back then. So I had to bring him up because you made me think of that when you said that you're still healing from decisions that you made. And even though people may forget, they may not forgive. I mean, you know, people may forgive you, but they don't forget it. Yeah. So when you know you have that on you, it's kind of hard for you to heal and progress. And you got to live with the fact that the people that you may have hurt your decisions, when you weren't a healed person, those people may never forgive you, but you got to forgive yourself first. Before you can change the world or do anything, you have to look in the mirror and realize, like, I'm getting better. I'm becoming a better person. And I hope they can see it, or at least I hope they can acknowledge it. Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up, man. Shout out to you, Uncle Mark, and anybody that's overcome getting the demons off your back, going through trials and tribulations. That's what life is all about. I love me a healed, healthy human being, and we all deserve to have that. We all deserve to live a high quality life. So don't be afraid to put your trauma out there. Somebody wants to help you, believe me. I'm going live tonight with a father from Memphis to talk about our autistic sons. Like Memphis to Maryland. Like we live in 2 different states, probably have 2 different healthcare systems, 2 different ways to take care of our child, but we connected through that. So everybody needs healing. Mm-hmm. Moving forward, we're going to get into our sponsor highlight. We're getting to the end of season 1, and we're going to stop doing our sponsor highlights, but I still wanted to shout somebody out tonight. And tonight I'm going to give love to my homegirl, Jessica Jones. You can follow her on Instagram at JetSetJess_, and she has a company called Jessica Jones Event Planning. I've done 2 weddings with this woman and her husband, and her assistant, Brittany, who was a little cousin. They are amazing to work with. And as a host, as an event planner, it's nothing like getting to the venue and knowing that everything is taken care of, and all I got to do is my part. All I got to do is grab the microphone and execute what they told me to execute weeks ago. So I just wanted to quickly shout them out, and everybody that's event planners and everybody that helps execute people's dreams and that day that's just going to be so special to them. You are important in the process, and it's a pleasure for one of the people that y'all hire for that to work with someone like that. So Jessica Jones Events, shout out to you.
And if I could just say shout out to Jess, because I believe she's ranked top 50 in the country.
For real?
When it comes to wedding planning. So big deal, big business.
Did not know that.
And I feel blessed to know that she's going to be putting together my wedding. So shout out to Jess, looking forward to that, and doing great things out here. I'm telling you, every time she put up her reels and posts of her weddings, I'm like just blown away, because you know, somebody is a black woman doing it, and you know, really competing with some of these bigger brands out here. She's really like stepped up there and really holding her own weight. So shout out to Jess. Can't wait.
I'm planning a bachelor party for the wedding. Fun fact. For anybody.
We'll say that for another episode.
So, moving on to our next segment. So I come back tonight. For all of our first time listeners, this next segment we call Love to Not Love. This is where we like to have fun with things that it's not our preference, things we don't choose on purpose, but just being alive, sometimes we can't avoid these people, these things, these organizations, or these industries. So we love to not love them. You want to go first tonight?
Definitely love to kick it off. My first love to not love of the night, and I believe you briefly spoke about it in your opening statement.
Okay.
People who won't allow others to heal on their own timeline.
Talk to them.
It's like, you know, people, like you said, it could be whatever situation, but I feel like when you're that person that's going through it, you have to develop your own strategy and timeline of how you can properly process it,
Right.
how you can heal, and who you want to reach out to.
Facts.
And sometimes your best friend may not be the person that you need in this particular case. And because you don't reach out to them personally, or you may be a little distant, they take it personal. So I will give a note to the people that's on the other side. Be patient. Be patient with those you see going through things, and don't take it personal if they don't reach out to you. They may be going through a therapist, or they may just be taking it in all their way. Just be encouraging and be patient. That's my
See, look how positive he was about y'all. He don't even like y'all. Look how positive he was about that. I love to know that. So, my first one is companies who promote togetherness, but deep down inside, they're just pushing everybody apart. And I'll go back to my young working days. I won't even get into like my older days. DTLR, for instance. And I got love for DTLR because honestly, that was one of the best jobs I ever had. That's before bills and life really kicked in. We had so much fun with our team. But what I did not like about how they ran the company was we in Annapolis built a store. We were fire, bro. Went into Christmas tournaments, like all the different jobs, you know, compete to see who had the best sales. You know what they do when they do that in industries like that?
What's that?
Pull you apart and send you to stores that aren't doing well. And I get why you're trying to build up your company because they're looking at the long haul. They're not looking at us trying to enjoy the day-to-day and building this chemistry that we built up. But they just split you up. And I feel like in a lot of different situations, I think our guest tonight may speak on some of these things. It's a lot of other internal things that companies do to split people apart. But I'm not going to get too deep into it. I just wanted to share the DTLR story. But listen, organizations, sporting teams, anybody that can control a unit, stop bringing up a good thing until it's time for it to move on, if you can. I get it, we all got a different bottom line, but like The Rock said, the bottom line is, don't mess up what we got going. Number 2 for you.
My last, love to not love. We talked about healing and heal. You know what I thought about?
What's that?
The heel of the bread, bro. If you making me a sandwich, do not make me a sandwich with the heel of the bread.
Oh, man.
Because you're going to need the healing after that. For real, yo.
I didn't see that coming. You made me laugh.
I don't even know why that part of the bread is in there.
I was going to say kidney heals.
But for real, man, don't make me no sandwich with the heel of the bread. The worst part of the bread.
Hey, listen, I would agree with that. That's what we used to feed the birds and say for the parking lot. Was that legal or not? I probably just saying, you know, people still do that.
Even if it's the last 2 pieces, I'd rather just not have a sandwich. Don't give me the heel.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. So, my second one is you act like you didn't do it lateness. Like, we all have, you know, things that we've run into.
Just talked about this.
Things that, you know, I wrote it before that happened.
Wow.
But, you know, hey, sometimes things just fall the way it should. You know, when people put time into doing things, people put effort into planning, setting up, getting ready. And when you don't feel the need to communicate at an earlier, and I get it, sometimes things just happen. So I am not talking to you people that really, really genuinely have moments. But when you just literally know we're supposed to meet at 6 and at 5:30, all of a sudden you got hit with like the unfathomable experience and you could not talk to us or tell us something, it's like, come on, bro. Like, you know, let's do better than that. And then it does not matter to me if we're at this level or this level. Everybody's time is important. So can we just do better? And by the way, one of my favorite albums is Late Registration. So it ain't all about me hating lateness, but I just don't like people wasting people's time.
And if y'all can see the face of the producer behind the camera, y'all wasting his time, but we ain't gonna go there. We ain't gonna go there. But look, man, people really take time into planning their schedules out.
Talk to them.
And we get emergencies at the last minute, but when you hit us with like one of the most bogus explanations or excuses, and you could have told us that yesterday because it really seemed like you knew that yesterday, makes me look at your professionalism a little bit different.
And if this feels personal, we love to talk about it here because guess what? We want everywhere. Everyone's welcome. So if it's a shot, you know, take it, accept it, come talk to us.
He politely told you he don't like y'all, and that's where we at.
I'm kind.
For the love of healing.
For the love of healing. I'm a healed soul. Matter of fact, I love you all. Moving forward, before we bring on our special guest, we have one more segment to get to. For all of our first-time listeners, everybody that's on Spotify, everybody on Buzzsprout, BuzzFeed, everybody that's listening on Google Music or Google Play, Apple Music, Apple Pods, this is what we call Shine the Light series. And this is where we like to put the spotlight on an individual, an organization, a company. It could be somebody that we saw at a stoplight and they inspired us by doing a kind gesture. It could be something on the biggest scale that you can possibly think of. And tonight, I'm going to shine the spotlight on the organization that I would say is responsible for the special guest that we have tonight. And I want you to get into it because you can speak a little bit more on them than I can. But tonight's Shine the Spotlight is Leadership and Arundel. And before I let Sel take over, I just want to give a special shout out to Chris, Nancy, and Erica. I like to call them the triple threat. They're beautiful people. I've always seen them in a just very great place. They're always positive. They're always promoting the services that they can provide to people. And to me, people that's like that are one of a kind because you don't run into those individuals a lot.
Yeah. Shout out to Leadership and Arundel. I had the pleasure of going through the program. It was founded by Bertina Nick, who is from Annapolis, held it down. If you don't know where Bertina Nick Way is, she has a street named after her and a scholarship. So that alone in the backstory about Leadership and Arundel is dope. But as Buddy said, shout out to Chris and Nancy. And you forgot the silent assassin.
I said
Griff.
Oh, yeah.
Griff. Shout out to Griff, man. He always come through, bring his calm energy. But ultimately, it's a leadership program broken down into two parts. You have the neighborhood leadership association part of it, where you have more grassrooted people who actually have boots on the ground, who may just be looking for their way to get into the community, find their way and make their voice heard and fix some of the issues going on in the community. And then you have the flagship program, which is the same thing, grassrooted, but it's more so backed by some of the employees that the people work for, and they want to see their employees go through this leadership program to develop a better sense of the county and just a better sense of leadership and getting to know people. So definitely a great program that has changed my life. I made some of the best connections I've ever made since going through that program. Like you spoke of earlier, our Gun Violence Prevention Weekend that just passed. That was headlined by Gillian Wallow and also backed by Maryland Live Casino, who I was able to make that connection through Leadership and Arundel. So some of the great initiatives and resources that we provide to the community have been resources that we found through Leadership and Arundel. And I would encourage anybody who just has a passion or a knack for making things better in your neck of the woods, go through this program to get a better understanding of some of the people that make the decisions and some of the resources, and just enjoy it, man. It's a great place to be.
Listen, I think you said everything that needs to be said, man. But yeah, special shout out class of 23. All my Eagles keep flying. Shout out to Takara. I want to say, I don't want to forget her name on the moment. You know who you are. I think 3 of my classmates are in flagship right now. I just want to shout out my peoples, man. All my Eagles.
What type of leader are you? You don't even remember your people's names, man.
The leaders is the ones in flagship.
The best class 2019, 2020 flagship. We here.
No disrespect to the COVID crews, but they didn't even meet in person. I mean, how do they feel? Like literally, how do they feel?
Hey,
but
virtual graduation though.
Shout out to everybody, all the graduating classes from the beginning to now.
Yeah.
I think it's time.
Let's do it.
I think it's time. Very special guest, episode 16. Do it for the love of healing. Let's get it.
Back. This is episode 16.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to dive deep into the heart and soul of community empowerment with the visionary founder of Idaltu Counseling and Consulting. Our guest has a unique blend of expertise in mental health therapy and DEI consulting, and today she is here to enlighten us and inspire positive change. Let's give a warm welcome to the one and only Tirrany Thurmond.
Clap from home, clap from your Spotify cars. Yes.
And like you said earlier, we have a busy guest who's in the mood of traveling right now. So thank you for taking time out your day to come through and just chat with us. So
thank you.
How does it feel to be on?
It feels great to be here. It really does. I'm really thankful to be invited, and I'm glad to have this conversation.
For sure.
So are we. So the way we like to start off with our guests is like the who, what, when, where, and why of your story.
Okay.
So Sel's going to ask her why, I'm going to ask her why. He's going to ask her what, I'm going to ask her what. And we want you to give the people exactly what you want them to know from those questions.
Okay.
So we like to start off very simple. Who is Tirrany Thurmond? how would you tell the world who she is?
Yeah. Who am I? I think a huge part of who I am is the oldest of 4 children.
Okay.
My parents were fairly young when they had me, so being the oldest of 4 kids means I sometimes joke about this, but I mean it seriously. I feel like I was born with leadership qualities.
True.
You know, like when you are the oldest sibling, you are taking care of things. You are like the parentified child, which we'll probably talk about a little bit later. But honestly, I would describe myself as, my name is Tirrany. I promise I'm not tyrannical. However, I do think that as I've grown and matured into myself, there's been a level of sovereignty that I do embody. You know, a level of command and self-authorship and oneness. So yeah, I am the oldest. I feel there's sovereignty in me. I am a Black woman, committed to my family and committed to my ancestral lineage.
Okay.
So that's how I would describe myself.
That's what I call a thorough description.
So you spoke about being the oldest, and I'm the middle child. So I always know how my oldest sibling always want to take charge. Is that how you got into pursuing a career in social science and counseling? Were you the one counseling your younger siblings, or how did you get into your career?
That's so funny. I think so, to a certain extent, for sure. Because when you are like this person that people rely on, I do think it just cultivates that skill of empathy, trust, relatability, and communication. But I also realize that I have this value for curiosity.
Okay.
So I've always been curious about why people did the things that they did. So I think that led to my investigation and my interest in social services and social science.
Okay.
Great answer. So my what question, I saw in the interview that you said, you said you look at yourself and others in this line of work as the subject and the object of the work. I watched your response and I thought it was powerful. Can you explain to our viewers what that means?
Yeah, that's a good question. First of all, what interview did you see that on?
Your page? I do my research.
We here.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, so when I think about the work that I do in DEI spaces, so diversity, equity, and inclusion, and anti-racism, many times as a practitioner, particularly a woman and a woman of color, I am the subject of the work. I'm essentially the one that we are studying. I'm the one that the organizations are like trying to understand how to make space for people from historically marginalized backgrounds. But I'm also supporting these organizations and being objective about finding those individuals. So your diversity strategy has to be, we are going to ensure that over the next 9 months, we're going to invest $10 million in African American businesses. So as a Black woman who owns a business, I'm essentially supporting these organizations with their objective goal, but I'm also the subject. So I'm on the receiving end of that support and that acknowledgement. So that's what I mean by it.
God, thank you.
Yeah.
So with that response, I feel like you're doing some of the work that some of our ancestors did. You're talking about historically marginalized communities and really making an impact for the future. So I'm curious to know, who is your favorite historical figure from your hometown or culture, and why?
Good question.
Y'all.
I gotta feel where this inspiration,
We be trying.
this
Oh my
this fight for
gosh.
the people is coming from.
Oh my gosh, y'all. Okay, so I did a TED Talk several years ago about the power of ancestor research.
Like a real TED Talk?
Yeah, real TED Talk.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's a flex, little kid.
I'm not trying to flex at all. I'm just telling you. But
Real TED Talk.
But no, I did this TED Talk because once I graduated from college, I began to investigate my family history.
Okay.
My last name is Thurmond, and I mean, we're in Maryland right now, but my family is originally from the South.
Okay.
And people who live in the South are very familiar, and you all may be familiar with him too, but Strom Thurmond. Strom Thurmond was a Republican senator from the state of South Carolina who was very much pro segregation.
Okay.
But what came to the surface later on is that he obviously had a relationship with one of the slaves that his family owned, and of course had biracial children, so on and so forth. But my last name Thurmond came from the descendants of the white Thurmonds in South Carolina.
Okay.
And so when I started doing my family research, I wanted to figure out, well, what did my Black Thurmond ancestors do? What did they overcome? What did they endure? And so here, yes, it was so powerful, Eric. And so what I found out was, I found out a multitude of things, but one of the ancestors I think that I would be most attracted to is actually a woman who is my great-great-grandmother, Coralie Bailey, who is 93 years old, who is extraordinary and sage-like wisdom. But I would also say I have a fifth great-grandfather named Brown Rogers, who in 1867, shortly after slavery, like voted. And so when I found out that information, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a black man who was a landowner. Our family has owned our land for over 100 years in Statham, which is somewhat unheard of. Yeah. And he voted like shortly after the Emancipation Proclamation was issued for black people. So I think that would be the person I'm admiring, or those are the two people that I'm admiring right now.
That's a lot of great information and a very that was a thorough answer, but I've never even thought to do stuff like that. And it's not because I think a lot of people don't do it because it's like the fear of knowing, because if you've been anti something your whole life and you realize it's a part of you, I think a lot of people run from that. But at the same time, it's I would love to find that out one day, because I've heard stories about my grandma who's very, RIP, very light-skinned. And I heard, if the stories is true, that her California family was white. And she moved here to Maryland because my grandfather's super darker, way darker than me. And I don't know any of them people. So if that's a true story, I got a whole white family in California, bro. So it's they obviously don't care to check for me, that's why she left. But I kind of want to know. Yeah. So that's just strong to hear that coming from you. Because I don't know anybody personally that's ever done that. You?
Me, myself, I'm kind of on that search. That's why I'm sitting back.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
And it's a scary feeling because me and my sister actually started this journey out together. So, through Ancestry.com, we're constantly getting alerts now that says we've discovered a hint on somebody's profile, a death certificate just got found. So every time I get an alert, it just creates this sense of nervousness and anxiety in me, but it's always just prudent to find that out and then not to be too dragged on. But recently, through the mural that I did at the church, I found out that church that I did a mural at in the graveyard, all Browns. Wow. And it was founded by my great-grandfather. See? And it's crazy. I ended up there for a mural, found that out, and then was just back at that same church for a funeral. So it's it's crazy when I see the full circle of things, but you just never know what you could discover just by doing that research. Very important.
I agree. I completely agree.
And I know this is not her grandmother's name, but whatever you told me her name was, this is my statement. When we start naming our babies things like Miss Cicely and Mr. Johnson Brown and stuff again, the world's going to go back into a greater space. You don't even name people like that no more. Anytime you have a great story, it comes from a person with a name like that or some type of story like that. Yeah. And it's so yeah. My next question is, you're an HBCU graduate.
That's right.
Why are HBCs essential to you? Knowing that you graduated from 2, can you explain why that education was so impactful and important?
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, I only graduated from 1.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So my master's degree is from a predominantly white institution, but we don't need to harp on that.
Correct.
I thank you. I got my undergraduate degree from Savannah State University.
Gotcha.
And first and foremost, HBCUs are so important because these were schools that were founded with the principle of educating, at the time, Negro children. And they were many of them are land grant universities. So that means the federal government allocated land for agricultural, mechanical, work for Negroes, essentially.
Thank you for that.
And let's be honest, many of these institutions were not positioned to ever be successful.
Right.
Many of them, I think about my alma mater, Savannah State, it is beautiful waterfront property. But they did not expect black people to survive down there on the marshlands. They didn't expect that. They didn't. But here we are, hundreds of years later.
Check us out.
Where we're thriving. But I think historically black colleges are important because they provide a sense of familia. Okay. I think there's an educational excellence at HBCUs in addition to there being black excellence. I also want to be very clear that just because it's a historically black college, it does not mean it is only for black people. I think that is the misinformation type of thing. That's not the best word to use, but I think that's misinformed. But yeah, HBCUs are extraordinary. Talking about the ancestral lineage, the connection to faculty and staff. I attribute a lot of my success to going to Savannah State.
Gotcha. Yeah. Shout out to HBCUs. My sister graduated from Morgan, also went to Norfolk, so special shout out to all HBCUs.
One common similarity that I see in all three of us is very well spoken, well educated, but we've all encountered being either in a space with predominantly white people and then having to be in a space with predominantly black people. So what is the common challenge that you found from going from one space to another?
Great question.
Because I mean, people like us sometimes when we get on camera or people see us talk professionally, like whitewashed, or they think that we ain't hip or we don't understand what's going on in both sides of the world. So just give people a little bit of insight on going from one space to another and that common challenge that you go through.
Let me tell you something. Dr. William Cross developed the Black Identity Development Model. Okay. Most people are like, what does that even mean? He believes that there is a development to becoming black. There's a socialization, because race is socialized. We've been socialized to believe certain things about our race, about our skin color, about our hair, about how we fit in, so on and so forth. And so he developed this model called the negrescence model, and it essentially means becoming black. And one of the things that he said, he was at a conference when I was in graduate school, and he said, we have to teach our young people, particularly black boys, that code switching is not selling out. It is learning to manipulate a system that wasn't designed for us to excel. And so when I think about the shifting that sometimes happens, it doesn't always happen in us, because sometimes code shifting, code switching is exhausting and it's mentally fatiguing. There's no denying that. I think a way in which you have to look at it is, what am I going to do to manipulate this system so I can get the best return on it, so that I can be an asset to my community? What am I going to do? What resources do I need to acquire? What skills do I need to be mindful of so that I can be an asset to my community? But I don't want to feed you all erroneous information. These spaces and places can be incredibly fatiguing to your body, psychologically, physiologically. And black and white spaces are nuanced. Black people are not a monolith. So there's no like, oh, he ain't black, no matter how I show up in some spaces, I'm black regardless.
Facts.
How people look at me.
So was we there for bringing chicken in?
No! That chicken was good. I didn't have any chicken, but it's good.
That's why I told Buddy to ask you before we get together. Like, make sure she good with chicken.
Yeah, he did.
Not all black people like chicken.
Yes.
I just had to say that because I know a couple black people that don't like fried chicken.
Yes.
Not all like or watermelon.
Hilarious.
You are too funny. That's a preference, man. It's a preference.
Yeah. But no, it's crazy everything you just said, because to me that goes with the topic of tonight in healing. Because it's hard, and I think it's fair to say that we probably have to code switch more than anyone. But I do say, wow, in my eyes, the way I look at what Sel said, it also gives us an advantage because we weren't scared to take on the challenge of going to the all-white university, me going to a private school. Towson, I feel like it's a good fair mix, but it's predominantly white. I know your art school, I believe, was the same way, and we grew up in Annapolis, Maryland, which is predominantly white. So I feel like if you don't learn how to adapt, and I'm gonna talk to the people on this one, when you don't learn how to adapt, you're doing yourself a disservice. If you're gonna let somebody tell you that learning the other side is a weakness or an illness or makes you weak, they're speaking to their weakness. All they're doing is saying it to you in a different way. So, I'm not saying that you have to go that route, because somebody like my sister, she's everything black. HBCU this, HBCU that. She don't really care to integrate and do all of that. But at the same time, she stands on what she stands on. So if you're gonna go that route, just stand on business. But it's a strength in spreading your wings and getting to talk to and see as many different things in this world as you can, if you can make it happen.
And travel's a good way to do that too.
Oh, yeah, I know it's travel, lady. We got that coming.
And let it be noted that adapting isn't just always talking white or professional. To me, adapting is just really being transparent and making somebody trust you. Because somebody like Kodak Black, right? One of the most wildest people. He's from the fucking bottom of Florida, right? But he still has white people that do business with him because obviously he's transparent and they trust him, and it might be a hump getting over that hurdle to make people, or not make, but try to get people to trust you. But that's with anything. Our own people will treat us like that. So to me, when we're talking about code switching or forming, and it's really just about being transparent and being straight up with people. And I think if you go that route, no matter the color, the person just is going to trust you, and then we can move forward to actually make an impact.
Up to you. I got one more win question that you
my next question is, when did you first realize your passion for mental health advocacy?
Ooh, that's a good question. When did I first realize my passion for
Was
it?
it your teenage years or college? Like what made you?
Oh, the sibling vibes. Like,
You know what? I'll tell you this. One of my best friends when I was in high school gave me a journal. I was 14. It was like she gave it to me for my birthday.
Okay.
And I remember just writing in that journal, and that became really cathartic for me. But I also was a friend that my friends relied on for advice, and I didn't even know. To me, a counselor was like a school counselor. I didn't know anything about being a therapist. But I also knew about psychologists, so I thought I wanted to be a child psychologist. And then when I went to college, studied behavior analysis, I took one abnormal psych class, and I was like, oh no, I don't want to do this. Because when you start learning about these abnormalities, I'm like, ooh, that's not what I want to do
Can you
in my
give us an
life.
example of what that is?
Yeah, like various forms of schizophrenia, hallucinations, distortions, those type of ailments. And those are ailments. Those are legitimate ailments that families and people contend with. But as a 19, 20-year-old girl learning about them in class and thinking I wanted to be a child psychologist, I didn't necessarily want to go down that route. But I think that my interest in clinical mental health really started because of my mom. My mom had some challenges after the death of my grandmother. And my community didn't have any resources that looked like us to support her. So
you stepped in where you saw something to step in and do.
Audible work.
So my last question, I had two more, but we can stop it depending on what Self says. When did diversity fatigue become a real thing for you? Was there an actual moment you went through with an organization, or just, someone else's experience is something that made you step into that?
Yeah. Well, diversity fatigue is essentially when you're doing all this diversity work and you just become really overwhelmed and tired by it. And that's a good question, Eric. When did it become a thing? When did I get tired?
And remember spin the block, as we said.
Yeah,
if that's loaded at the moment,
Yeah.
we can take the time and come back to it. But I really wanted to, obviously, once again, I looked at your page and saw something that you said. So I was just wanting to get into that and just let the people know, because I think a lot of people that work their 9 to 5s, like I've said this on camera before, Sal is one of the only people that I know that's my friend that does not work for a company. Tunnel Vision is a company, but to me, that's not like going to work for just your everyday bank or just being a teacher. Like, he does his own schedule, he does his own timing. Everybody craves that, they think they crave that independence and being an entrepreneur. It's how you see the work that comes into it. So a lot of people stay in the fatigue space because it's safer, it's comfort. So we can go back to that and we can move on to a self question, but I'll bring it back up.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's imagine that I'm one of these clients that's potentially a new client. I'm young, a teenager, and I'm one of the people that say that therapy isn't needed or I don't need therapy. How do you sell to your young teenage clients or potential clients that it's essential to have mental health therapy in our community?
That's important.
That is important. I don't think I would sell it though. I think I would just ask a few questions.
Okay.
If you say to me that you don't think you need therapy, I would say, can you tell me a little bit about where that comes from? Like, what are your thoughts on what are your thoughts on the benefit or the disadvantages of having therapy? Can you tell me a little bit about how you're feeling? I would probably ask those type of questions. And I have to be honest, it's not really gendered, but I think in the social context of how sometimes Black people live their lives in America, is that there's not always an emotional vocabulary around feelings. We know core feelings like man, it pissed me off, or man, that was good, or that was funny, or whatever. But there are so many other emotions that run the gamut, and sometimes therapy is here to help you just process your emotions and understand them. Absolutely. And also too, many times people don't even think they need therapy until they get into a relationship with other people. They fall in love with somebody, and their somebody is not loving them the way they thought they should be loved, and it didn't show up the way they thought it was going to be. And now they are eager to talk to somebody about it, but they really want to talk. They want to talk about how they're not feeling connected. And what we realize is that through intimate relationships, it's also showcasing how we don't feel connected to ourselves. And so, I don't think I would sell it. I think we'll probably start asking some questions very gently, and I would probably start reflecting some emotional language back to the person.
That is so important. I want to speak on two things based on what she said before we move on. As a Black man, as a person that I think I'm I think I'm very strong. I think I have a very high threshold for other people, and I'm patient. Obviously, raising someone on the autism spectrum, you need to be patient. But the times I felt weakest and I felt like I was like worthless is through love. So you bringing that up is like when a person that you give your time and your energy to tells you you're not enough or makes you feel like you're not enough. That to me has been the most crushing feelings that I've ever felt. Not my son's diagnosis, not if I don't fail a test or if I didn't make a team. None of that really matters. I move on quick. But when a person that you give your time to, because it's a saying, we love hard. When we're done, we're done. But it takes a lot for me to be done. So that's the one thing I wanted to speak on. For any black men that feel like that, take what she said to heart and know that sometimes just a conversation can get you through. And I want to focus on the teenagers, especially in this COVID, after the COVID era and this gaming phone era of young men. It's okay to express to your mom, to your dad, to somebody that you feel comfortable with, because I think a lot of these young teenagers be depressed. And as soon as somebody tell them no, or tell them that like, or yell at them, they think about hurting themselves.
It's
like
the sugar soda bottle thing.
Bro, I was gonna write it on my Facebook today before I did my little everyday motivational thing. Like, the fear of today is that the extremes are too extreme and the lack of standards is super lacking. Everybody's a critic. Everybody has the power to make you feel crappy. Where we used to feel like, oh, only Cisco and Ebert can tell me if a movie sucks. Only the source can tell me if an album is classic. Now somebody with no picture and no followers on Twitter can have Nicki Minaj going ham for 2 hours.
That's wild.
Like, that's where we at today. So the conversations, and guess what? You sold it without selling it. Because sometimes it's just the simple answers. I always tell people, like, life is easy, people are complicated, so we make it hard. Like, it's very simple out here. But to get to it, I watched Love Jones 2 days ago. But it's moments like that that make people really go into deep depression and hurt themselves and like really just jump off the bridge. So that was a great answer. And I know it was a great question. So we never asked a who up question like that. That was dope. Yeah. Because teenagers need to hear that. And I hope anybody that watches this can show their son or their daughter, like, let's just talk.
Yeah.
Let's just talk.
Simple combo. That's it.
Yeah, any more what's? We good?
My last question was going to be, we know we spoke to you earlier about being a busy traveler, and with you being a therapist, how do you find time for yourself to make sure that you're still getting the rest and the mental health relaxation that you need?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Well, first of all, as a therapist, it's important to practice shielding. So essentially being able to kind of cover yourself and realize the experience that's being had through therapy is an experience that needs to be manifest for the person, for the client to get to their healing or get to their therapeutic goal. I also want to say, like, healing is not it's not a final, like, you don't get to like the destination and like, oh, I'm gonna feel so good. I mean, it's constant. And some people call it triggers. I like to say sometimes you're activated. Like sometimes your nervous system will respond to certain things. You can watch a film. You can hear somebody say something. You can smell a fragrance that your grandmother used to wear or that your ex-boyfriend or your ex-girlfriend used to wear. You could see something and it startles you. And so there's so much that can happen along your journey of healing. But one of the things that I do to take care of myself, I take a lot of Epsom salt baths. I took a bath the other day, but candlelight, that's really important.
Routine.
I journal.
Okay.
I make time to connect with my girlfriends. I have girlfriends all over the country. We meet once a month on Zoom and we talk for like 3 hours. I also see my own therapist, which is very important for me to be able to talk to somebody about my own stuff.
I love your Instagram page because it's very transparent into who you are. I was about to answer for you, like Black Wine Festival.
Oh yeah, I went to the Black Wine Festival.
But I like to watch people that are like, because sometimes you already tell yourself how a person's about to be. And I met you once before, so I knew your energy was like very transparent and genuine. At least that's how I took you. But even when you watch your page, like I can go do a TED Talk clip. I can go have fun with my friends. I can spin that around and promote an article or be in the cover of a magazine. I can do all of this within this one page, but some people feel like, oh, my personal page needs to be separate from my business. And that works too. I'm not knocking anybody that does that, but I'm like you. Everything's on my page. Like D-Man's Pop 1128, you getting this autism content, you getting this, you getting everything. This hosting events, the podcast. I'm like, Sal's like, y'all, we might not want to flood it, bro. I'm like, listen, you might get 5 clips in a row on my page. I don't care. This is my life. I'm living it. So it's like, I love how transparent you are with your life.
You.
So yeah, that was very great on the who, what, when, where, and why.
I just have one question before we go into
Rapid fire?
Okay. We talked about, I think you brought up the word shielding.
Yeah.
And it made me think, like, with your career and almost comparing it to somebody who sits and takes 911 calls, right? At what point do you split off your emotional attachment to all of these other people's problems? Like, do you just sit and you sitting and working, like you're taking on the problems, you're really being sympathetic, but then after they leave, it's like out your mind?
Oh no, absolutely not.
And I'm sure that ties back into your therapy sessions.
Yeah,
right?
it absolutely does not. Shielding is a way in which I can stay present in the session so that the client gets the attention and the focus that they need. But empathy saturation is a real thing too.
Yeah.
Empathy saturation is essentially when the clinician may utilize too much empathy and they are overwhelmed and they're maybe taking on
some of that same
energy. And that is also why it's important to have what we call clinical supervision. So it's an opportunity for me to meet with a supervisor and talk about, hey, this is what I experienced, this is what I'm observing in my client, these are the interventions that I'm using. But no, after being a therapist for so long, you become skilled at being present in the moment, providing the client with what they need, and then you also doing what we call, you have to do self-care.
Okay.
And sometimes you have to do before care. Like for instance, if I know that I have a client that is dealing with some childhood trauma, like sexual molestation or whatever it may be, there may be some things I need to do personally to prepare myself to engage in that level of conversation. Or there may be things I have to do after that conversation to make sure that I can be focused and get ready for the next person.
Are there any routines that you're thinking about or that you do now that you can share with people that may not be going through the same thing, but just going through an overwhelming sense of pressure or whatever that is? Is there any tips that you can give that you use?
Yeah, absolutely. Some things are quite simple but so important. Stepping outside and breathing. Like stepping outside on a balcony, on a porch, walk to your car, step outside and breathe. Some box breathing is really important. You can find box breathing methods on YouTube. It's inhale for 4, hold it, exhale for 4, hold it, inhale for 4. And you do that until you feel a little bit more calm in your body. I encourage clients sometimes, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling right now? And they may say, I'm a 13. I'm like, okay, well, we are going to do some box breathing until we get you as close to 0 as possible.
Okay.
That may be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 minutes of breathing, but that's important. Taking your shoes off and putting your feet on the earth. That may sound really foreign for people living in the city, but if you can put your feet in grass or dirt, that's a great way to ground. Yes, to ground yourself.
I've been around meditation people.
Yes. Another way to do it is pause for a second and concentrate on 4 things in the room and like call them out. Other things you can do, you can affirm yourself. I am okay in this moment. Tirrany, you are okay in this moment. You just keep repeating it to yourself. So those are a few things.
Lovely. Listen here, that was awesome. You did very well.
We don't be giving y'all too many of these free therapy sessions.
Listen.
Let them know where they can invoice.
I don't know the word to call the people that be typing in court, typing up every word. She said at least 15 words that we need Webster's dictionary people in here for, and like 5 other definitions that I'm like, when I rewatch, I'm like, okay, that's me.
That's a court reporter.
Yes.
A stenographer.
We need one of those on the show. Do it for the love. Season 1 budget, can't afford you now, but listen, season 2, we need you. So, all of our first time listeners, this is episode 16 for the Love of Healing with Miss Tirrany Thurmond, and we're about to get into rapid fire questions. It's time to get loose. Quick stuff, don't overthink it. Okay. We're going to ask you quick questions.
Take your 4 breathers.
Take your shoes off, feel the wood grain floor, relax your shoulders, and it's time to get going.
Okay.
But this is a rapid fire question. We're going to ask you a series of questions. We're going to make it quick. We're going to make it fun.
Okay.
So you want me to go first or you want to go first?
If you want to go first, just say it.
I'll lead the way. As an avid traveler, what is your dream vacation?
Ooh, dream vacation. Oh gosh.
Dream vacation. The money and nothing holding you back. Where are we going? And I said we.
A few things.
Come
on, pull up now. I would love to take a private jet to like a small island. I'm really interested in the Canary Islands. I'm really interested. I would love to go to Madagascar.
Okay.
Oh, but you said
No, anything could be. To me, that answer.
And that's fast. Okay.
Yeah,
I can get into thinking.
Madagascar is on mine as well.
Yes.
What's your go-to self-care activity?
Massages.
Okay.
All right, bet.
Was that a rapid fire question? Or did you, okay.
Yeah, we got a couple of them coming. They coming in hot. Don't worry.
Okay.
Taking your college out of it. The best HBCU experience or school visit. I like going to another HBCU. Taking yours out of it. What's the best HBCU experience that you can remember? Quick ones.
Ooh.
And you can name a couple. We ain't gotta make it too quick.
You know what? I will say this. One of my most memorable experiences was at Bowie.
Okay.
This was when I was an undergrad, and I went to Bowie for the HBCU Queens and Kings Conference. I was Miss Savannah State, by the way.
Okay, Miss Savannah State. All right, shout out to Savannah State.
That was amazing. Tuskegee was amazing too.
Okay.
Tuskegee.
That's dope. I've never been to Savannah State or Tuskegee. You're the first person I actually ever met from there. So one day I gotta go, check the vibes out. Everybody think the HBCU is the best. I lived in North Carolina, A&T think they're the best.
Yes.
Obviously Howard think they're the best. So,
Yes.
shout out to you.
You gotta rep your school.
You got to.
If you could travel back in time, which historical event would you want to witness? Firsthand.
Yo, that's scary. Ooh.
And you could be a fly on the wall, but you just get to be there and really soak in the energy.
Oh shoot.
My comedic mind just went nuts.
Can you give me I know this is
If
my question, but
it was me, I would. It sound crazy, but I would have wanted to been there when Martin Luther King got shot, because I definitely would have ran down on the man that pulled the trigger.
Oh,
once I seen where because they started pointing, like, we gotta go get him. Like, there's no way I'm just gonna sit and look at Dr. King. I'm coming to get your ass.
If you watch us enough or listen to us enough and you hear his obsession with funerals and stuff like that, you wouldn't be surprised if that's probably the historical moment that he picked. It wouldn't be shocking. But yes, anything like that, like the I Have a Dream speech or the March on Washington, or it doesn't even have to be like that. Like, for instance, if I had to pick one, I would have probably been at the Source Awards when Biggie and Outkast and all of them was like, South got something to say. And I would have loved to have been in that room, bro, as a music lover. That was crazy.
Oh, do I have the answers right now? Can I come back to it?
We come back to it.
So look, we got two. We got to spin the block on.
I love it.
Okay.
I love it when we puzzle smart minds. See, she might have words we don't know. We can stumble her. Okay, so, all right. If you were on a co-headlining tour, what you do.
TED Talk tour.
TED Talk tour with Tirrany, speaking it into existence.
Yes, I love that.
With any musical act, like y'all out there that get, like, you can open up one night, like best of both worlds. Who are you going on tour with?
A musical act?
Yeah, it could be a musical act. Like, you could come do your thing, Erykah Badu, come serenade.
A little music.
Bro, that's the type of stuff I like.
Oh, man.
It could be R&B, rap, country.
Y'all ain't good. Y'all ain't no good.
Is that three that you stopped
Oh
on?
my gosh. Like, people that come to mind, like, I love J. Cole.
Lovely.
I love J. Cole.
That would be a
That would
dope
be
TED
fire.
Talk. Therapy and incense.
Yes, like, I just love J. Cole. I love his vibe. I love his truth and honesty.
That'd be a good choice.
I love him.
I like that answer. I think if I was you, I would stick with that.
I also love this act named Mariba. This artist.
Oh, I love when people put me on the music.
Mariba, I love her too.
She instruments?
Very sensual. No, she's like neo soul, kind of like.
Does she sing over instruments?
She
like live
sings.
instruments?
I have seen her. I have seen that in the video, but most of the time it's not. But yeah.
That's great answers.
Dang.
But
y'all.
listen, nobody's grading you. That's what came to your mind. That's your answer. To me, I would love to see a TED Talk with Andre 3000 flute album.
Oh yeah.
That would be super dope back and forth. You gonna leave there healed for the love of him. Imagine that.
Going from a whole bunch of words to none at all. That's crazy. I'll give you this one you should be able to answer.
Okay.
What is your go-to comfort food? I know.
Lately, y'all, I've been eating a lot of gummy bears.
That's me. I'm with you.
Yeah.
What's your favorite gummy bears?
But I'm like over here eating those, what is it, Black Forest?
Yeah.
Black Forest gummy bears?
Because
they're soft.
I wasn't gonna say nothing, bro. I told you I'm not focused there. I wasn't gonna say nothing. He loves soft gummy bears.
Yes, French fries too. French
Okay.
fries.
Nah, French fries is a good one. I'm not big on candy. My go-to is like sliced pepper.
Says the man who
Yeah.
always, when I offer him candy, like, sure.
Because I don't like telling people no, even though this is my year no, and last year was my year yes. I don't like telling people no. Like, yeah, sure.
Hospitable.
I'll take your Twix. My next question, where I want to go with it, I'm going to go in order. List your top priorities. Ready? 4 of them.
Okay.
Great book, great food, great hotel room, great company. Great book, great food, great hotel room, great company. In order.
Great food, great company, great hotel room, great book.
I like it.
Yeah.
Let me say hotel room first. That's a lot of money. It sounds like she's 5-star.
Because if you with good company, you won't spend all your time in the hotel room.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
That's true.
You'll be like out and exploring things and just getting to know and like just being with each other.
Unless your girlfriend's thought of a vacation is watching Wild 'N Out in the hotel room and not doing anything.
Ooh, that sounds personal.
Wasn't personal. I watch Netflix.
Boy, when you get home, that's what I'm
I know, we friends.
We spoke a lot about some of the great things you do in therapy, but what is that hidden talent that nobody knows that you have?
Oh, nobody knows?
Like, what's that one thing that people be
A few people might know, but you gotta be
what
close.
you could do? Like,
Oh, shit.
whistle and juggle at the same time. Like, what's that?
I don't know, but people know this though. Like, I'm one of those people that, like, if I can't find the words to something, I start singing the lyrics to a song that, like, answer the question.
That's dope.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like if we're talking about something, I'll just start singing a song, and people are like, what? I'm like, that's that TLC song. That's that 112 song from, like, 2001.
I like it.
And I just can randomly
That's
pull
funny.
lyrics out of my head.
I like it. I'm a person that's singing music randomly all the time. People think I'm talking to them, so I'm here with you on that. So how many more did you have in rapping?
Just one.
Just one? Okay. My last one is going to be, what is one thing you know today that you wish young Tirrany knew?
Oh gosh. That perfection is not obtainable.
Well said.
Felt like you was chasing it a lot.
I think that even going back to my family origin, being the oldest of 4 kids, I just realized the other day, I heard somebody say this, like, if you're the oldest, that means your parents did not know what they were doing. They were figuring it out.
That's true.
And so you just happen to be the child they were figuring it out on. And so I became accustomed to just, like, doing right. And I'm using air quotes. If anybody's listening to this, I'm using air quotes. Like, doing it right. Making good grades, being pleasant, being respectful, being kind, being personable, all those things. And then you grow older and you're like, this.
Right.
This is exhausting.
Right,
And this is not how I want to live. Because before you know it, you're contorting yourself to be what you think other people need you to be, and you're being inauthentic to yourself.
I just like to say that was pretty much like an alley-oop to all the second-born people out there. First-born people, y'all thought y'all was special. Y'all out here now, y'all here just shaking the dice with y'all.
Big sis, I love you, what you see. I'm the diamond in the rough.
All right, last one, you up, brother.
My last question, something fun. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
I wish I could be invisible in time travel, but if I could just be invisible,
You can do both.
or like read people's thoughts.
I'm an invisible time traveler.
You seem like one of those type of people. I swore that's what I was thinking. Like,
Yeah,
you probably
read
want. I
people's
mean, because
thoughts.
you sitting there trying to figure out what's going on.
You do that work,
would
so that
help
come
you.
natural.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Nah, she's trying to figure it out in work. It's
No,
like,
I get, but the fact
imagine if
you
you
love
let
that
your
work.
clients just walk in, you be like, I already know what's wrong. with you.
Yeah.
I already know. Now just sit down and let me
That's
know that.
hilarious. But I would want to be able to turn it off. Like, I don't need it.
Yeah,
I don't need
think
it to
of
be
it.
going on all the time.
What's that movie?
When
Bruce Almighty?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Bruce
I
Almighty.
mean, when God talking to him, it's a bunch of them. It's a bunch of
Yeah,
movies
you're
like that.
right.
That's
Yeah.
that's setup. But yeah, no, that would be a lot. That would be a lot. You did very good. We didn't even spin the block on the one rapid fire question. You did great. You did great. You did great.
Thank you.
So we are at the spin the block segment of our show, though. So is there anything from our opening topics, or if you can remember any of the rapid fire questions, or if it's one you want me to go back to, what is a moment so far in tonight's show, or a message that you would like the viewers to know about something that we may have spoke on or asked you? Because I know, with the degree that you have, with doing TED Talks, with, just all of the different things that you're a part of in your company, is there anything that you would like to spin the block on that we may have left out?
Oh, geez. There are two things. One thing I want to define and the other thing I want to clarify. And the first thing I want to define is that when we think about diversity fatigue, really many times diversity fatigue is also about people in the workplace getting tired of diversity initiatives because they really aren't learning. Their hearts and minds and their actions aren't changing. They just feel like they're being taught to, and they're not really absorbing the information. So then you do become fatigued by it. And as a facilitator, you can sometimes become fatigued because you're like, dang, I'm talking about this and it's not penetrating. The other thing is I want to talk about something you all said at the very beginning of the show, which is about resilience. Resilience is very much looked at as one's ability to overcome something. But in Black culture and other communities where there's been historical marginalization, resilience is an act of defiance. It's an act of resistance. It's me saying, oh no, I'm going to be strong enough to get through this because people don't believe I have the capacity to. But unfortunately what has happened in the Black community is we have worn our resilience as a badge of honor, and we are holding so much internally that it's like breaking our own hearts. It's affecting our familial legacy. It is altering our mental and physical well-being, which is pushing us to, like when I was a kid, my grandmother would say, you know, so-and-so had a nervous breakdown. But a nervous breakdown really equates to an episode of psychosis where you become almost completely disconnected from your reality. And that can happen once, and some people are like, I'm never going to go through that again. And sometimes it happens long-standing. But that's what I would say. Those are the two things I want to share.
Well, actually, that was one of the spin the block things, the fatigue question. Because remember, I asked you, you was like, let's hold off on that. So, and then I just spoke my little piece about it, but then you spun the block. You good on the spin the block? All right, so moving from the spin the block, we like to go into a segment that is called Hidden Gems. You actually gave one earlier, Sal kind of put one in his question. But if there's anything specific in, you know, your story and your journey that you want to talk to your listeners, our listeners, your followers, this is the moment that you can give them a gem. It could be within the therapeutic industry. It could be within just surviving HBCU life. It could be growing up in the South. It could just be, you know, being resilient as a Black woman. It could be many different things. But give a hidden gem to that person that, you know, can learn something from your story and experience.
Sometimes you gotta move. That seems so simple, right? I mean, like sometimes you literally have to get your body up and you have to move. You have to change locations. You have to meet new people. You have to force yourself outside of your comfort zone so that you can grow. And that's something that I've done with travel. That's something I've done with family and friends. But it's also something I've done independently. You have to be willing to shake up the circumstances so that you can grow. So sometimes you got to move.
So like they say, stillness is key, but sometimes you gotta move. And that is a gem because sometimes, I forgot exactly what you said earlier, but sometimes it's just, when you were explaining the different steps, like the grounding and everything, it'd be the simple things. Go and get some air, go breathe, move, don't be still. It's almost like one of the Brad Pitt movies about the zombies, you die when you're still. You gotta stay moving in life. And that's like, to me, that was a metaphor. It was bigger, that when that statement came in the movie, it was bigger than just running from zombies. It's like, you have to move in life. Like at some point in time, like if you just stagnant in your relationship, in your business, in your growth, raising your children, if you stagnant, sometimes they're gonna go past you and then you're left behind.
Right.
So I'll let you introduce Inspirational Moment and Message.
Well, I had one hidden gem question.
Go for it. My fault.
I know you spoke about diversity fatigue, so I'm curious to know if you could share a unique strategy or approach that you use to foster inclusivity and diversity in your work. Without having your people experience the same thing.
Yeah. When you say my work, you mean like in my consulting work? Like if I'm doing consulting work? I typically do like some ground rules or community expectations where I have people talk about like what they expect out of that space. So sometimes people are like, you know, I expect this space to be a place where I can talk about my feelings. I expect this place to be a space where I can really learn some actionable steps. So I open it up for people to talk about what they expect. It's like it's essentially setting your intentions for what you want to gain from the experience.
Learning the why.
Yeah, exactly. Learn the why. And so if they establish the why, then they will be engaged in trying to get their why out of it. You know, trying to get their connection out of it. So that's one thing that I'd say.
I like that.
So actually I want to kind of reverse things. Before we get into our Inspirational Moment Message, And that's going to be like kind of how we get up out of here with our day, because this has been amazing and this has been great.
Thank you.
Is there anything going on in the world you want to speak on? This is what we call, for all of our first time listeners and watchers, this is Open Minutes. This is a time, it's not about the consulting company, it's not about the job, this is not about your personal day-to-day. Well, it can be personal, but in a sense of maybe what you watch, what you caught on the news, what you read in the paper. Like what, I saw you caught a flight this morning, something that you saw in the airport. Is there anything that you just want to speak on?
So much has happened in my life, and so much I want to talk about. Oh shoot, what's something that comes to mind really fast?
No pressure, no pressure.
One of the things I was talking about earlier with my colleague Janelle is, I think a lot of us are challenged in this moment in time because inflation is inflating. The cost of living is high, rent, mortgage, all that stuff, groceries, all that stuff is getting pretty expensive. And sometimes capitalism will have us so invested in pursuing the dollar. So it'll have us so invested in, making a life that we're not thinking about living a life.
True.
And there are moments where I have to say to myself, Tirrany, are you living a happy life? Like, are you pursuing eudaimonic happiness? Eudaimonic happiness is about living life purposefully.
You know we didn't know that. I'm so happy. You know we didn't know.
She's getting better.
She been explaining it.
Yes, it's about living life purposefully. And sometimes when you're stressed out, it's difficult to feel like you can be connected to your purpose. Right. That's why we have to do a better job of decompressing, minimizing the stress, so that we can hear from the Almighty, whoever that is in your world. Maybe it's your own internal knowing, so that you can start doing what's necessary.
I always say, I pray every day, and it's the same prayer. I won't do the whole prayer, but I always say, Lord Jesus, be with those who feel like they're lacking. And then I go into a whole bunch of things, lacking foundation, lacking self-respect, lacking understanding, lacking patience. And then I say, pray for the people who think they got it figured out too. I try to I can just say pray for the whole world and stop talking. Yeah. But I get specific. I get real specific. I do disabilities, disorders, and all of that. But the way you just broke it down is how I feel about my prayer. Because it's people need to know that and feel that and understand that. But we're not.
One thing I have to tell you, this, I don't want to prolong this, but one of the things that happened today that I thought was it gets outrageous. It's random. Mm-hmm. But I got a rental car this morning to spend my day in the city. And that whole, do you want to prepay for gas thing, or do you want to fill it up yourself? Sometimes they'll get you on that whole, fill it, out, oh no, I'll bring it back on E. No, they're overcharging you to fill that rental car up. You need to get gas on your own.
They testing how lazy you are, pretty much. Because they know everybody that's returning the car, most of the time you're running behind, so you don't really have the time to fill it up, and they banking on that.
Listen.
So
that was a perfect love to not love. So enterprise, anyone, no specific, car agencies,
whoever you with,
we not feeling you, B.
All of them.
We not feeling you, B. So, all right, so that was a great Open Minutes. That was actually a perfect example of Open Minutes. Anybody in the future, when you see this episode, be random. I'm happy he was this is random, but that's exactly what we want our Open Minutes. Like a random BSA. We talked enough about your history and your life. Not saying you get tired of talking about yourself, but that's just a moment
to Enterprise just caused some crazy strays over there.
All right, so this is the moment that we're going to zoom in on you, and you can give an inspirational moment, a message to anybody in the world that you want. I know we already did Hidden Gem, we already did Spin the Block, but this is the last. When the people watch this show, if they fast forward to the 50-minute mark, it will start here. Mm-hmm. And they get to see what your message is, what you're about, and your purpose. So you can zoom in on the camera with your eyes, very, very, and you're very confident, man. I've seen you speak. You're not scared of the moment. Talk to the young ladies that can gain from you. It could be young ladies from your southern state, or it could be people that aspire to one day run a TED Talk or do a TED Talk just like you. Because one day you were that girl that's I'm going to get there, and you got there.
Oh my goodness. I feel like I'm on the spot too. I should have made up something. But the thing that comes to mind particularly is worthiness. You are worthy. You are worthy. I just can't stress that enough. You are worthy. And love is not supposed to be hard fought and hard won. There is this idea that many people have that I am only worthy of the love if I've worked for it. No, the day you came out of your mother's womb, you were worthy. You were born worthy. You can do nothing else, and your life matters. You are worthy. So just remember that.
I love it. And since that's what she's going on tour with, there's no such thing as a life that's better than yours. So you are worthy and you are special. It's a part of also in my prayers, like you are worth a quality life. Like just know that. And it's hard to feel that way if you've been through obviously so much trauma. And that's why tonight is called For the Love of Healing. Yeah. So you know the vibes, man. Do it for the love. Episode 16. Special shout out to the man that don't want to be seen. Atelier Baltimore Studios. Special shout out to all of our likers, our subscribers, our lovers. Please continue to share us. We are trying to get more interactive with you, your comments. If you love us, tell us you love us. If you didn't like something, tell us you didn't like it. We want to talk to you. We got to hear from you. That's the only way we get better. That's the only way we grow. So I want to send a special shout out to our highlight sponsor, Events by Jess. I also want to give a special shout out to our Shine the Light recipient, Leadership Anne Arundel. Sell any other things you want to leave out with?
I love to really close out with my closing message. Wounds run deep. Healing just isn't a choice, it's a necessity. Remember, the journey to healing begins with self-compassion and ends with collective understanding. Let's embrace the power of healing, for it's the key to unlocking our true potential. And we closing out episode 16, For the Love of Healing with Tirrany Thurmond, and we out of here.
Ashe.
It's been beautiful, people. You have been amazing.